Hi and hello, watch fans, and welcome to another edition of the Real Time Show. With me, your friendly neighborhood jeweler, Alon Joseph. Today, I'm very honored and proud to welcome to the physical studio my Dutch friend in Amsterdam, Laurents de Rijke of the Rijke & Co.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Good to have you here in Amsterdam. Good to see you. Congrats on the launch of your white Miffy collab, the white ceramic one. While we're recording this, you are actually getting non-stop pings of orders coming in. So it could be that when this airs, it has been sold out. It might not. I highly recommend you to check it out if you like bunnies or Miffy. And for the Dutch fans, it is Nijntje. We just took a selfie in the garden of our new location here in Amsterdam on the Museum Square with a life-size blinged out Miffy.
Yeah, it's nice.
So, Laurents, if I understood correctly, this is your last chapter with Miffy, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We had a license from the owners of Miffy, and they are very strict on the license. So it was, I think, already quite amazing that I was able to get the license at all. But very happy I got it. But they allowed me to do only a few editions, and this is the last one.
So, we'll circle back to the whole Miffy chapter in a bit. I want to do a full episode with you. We had a lovely time in Geneva a few months ago, the Encanto Watches. Probably most of the listeners heard that short episode where you presented your novelties.
Yep.
But maybe let's go back to the roots. You are not a watchmaker by nature.
No, I'm not. No, I'm an industrial design engineer by education, and I stumbled up on a watch during a journey on my old Vespa, and that ignited sort of the spark to start designing watches. So it was in 2013, so 12 years ago already. So it's been a long road, quite literally as well. Yeah.
So you probably told this story often, but I still love that story. You went on your Vespa, vintage Vespa, on kind of a Silk Route-ish tour.
Yeah.
Where did you start? Where did you end up?
We started in the Netherlands, and we drove. I drove all the way to. I ended up in Kazakhstan, but we took the long road, so to say, through, which is the old Silk Road, so through Turkey, Georgia, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and then you go to Kazakhstan, and that's where I landed for me.
So a literal Silk Route.
Yeah, it's probably the most Silk Road you can do now. The only if we completed it, we would have come to China. We've driven along the border of China, but it's really hard to enter China with your own vehicle, so it was not an option. But who knows in the future to finish it.
Would you do it again?
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, I'm 12 years older now, and I'm not sure if I would do it again on the Vespa. And say I would definitely do it again on a motorcycle now. But sometimes I realize what a stupid idea it was to do it on a Vespa. We only did it I did it in about 2 months, well, 11,000 kilometers. I mean, you forget all the hard stuff, but sometimes I get confronted with. I was after 3 days, we were already in Istanbul, which is 2,500 kilometers on a Vespa from 62. That's a really real endurance, and my back was hurting so much. I know. I realize now, or how do you say this? I recall that I almost had given up on day 3 because of the back pain I already had. We did a highway on this thing. I mean, the Autobahn in Germany, cars passing you by with 200 kilometers an hour and you're struggling with 90 kilometers an hour. It was crazy. But yeah.
So how did you endure? Why did you continue?
I at that point I was like, I want to do like this for me is a once in a lifetime thing. I wanted to do this trip for quite a long time already. The Central Asia part, I wanted to see it, and mostly especially on a motorcycle. But I wanted to do for once time in my life to do something really stupid and to really have a memory. I have to say at that time I was also working as a Vespa restoration guy at the restoration company. So I had a big connection with Vespa. Everyone called me the Vespa guy at the university. And so I thought I want to do like once in a lifetime something really stupid on a Vespa. And then I keep that Vespa for the rest of my life. So I bought also like the most, for me, the most precious and most valuable Vespa and the most sought after version. It's a Grand Sport. And I thought, okay, I'll do this one time and I keep this scooter for the rest of my life. And it looks like it's happening. So yeah.
You still have it?
Yeah. So like with some people have with a Rolex that they've inherited from their dad or something. That's one of my goals to do that with Vespa. I still have it. It's in my living room. I still ride it. I still rode it on Sunday. So yeah.
So what watch were you wearing on your Vespa on the Silk Route?
I started with no watch, and that's where we got interesting. I went to a flea market in Georgia, in Europe or Central Asia now, and I had a big hangover on one day, and the guys I was traveling with, 2 friends, they were already out visiting city, Tbilisi. Hours later because I was so hungover. So I was alone in the city, and then I stumbled upon a flea market, and I thought, okay, it would be cool if I could find a good souvenir here. And I found a watch, an old Vostok watch, mechanical watch, and I thought, okay, this is the perfect souvenir, and it worked. So and that's the watch I wore during the rest of the trip.
And then
during the trip, I was studying industrial design engineering. And during the trip, I had this watch on my wrist, but I was always wearing gloves. I mean, the Vespa, it doesn't go so fast, but in the desert, it got so. It was so. We passed one of the hottest deserts in the world, the Karakorum Desert. So I was driving often in my t-shirt. But the one thing I was always wearing was my gloves, because you need to hand shift with the Vespa. You need to use the clutch and, of course, to give gas. So you want to have gloves on. But the gloves were always covering my watch. And that inspired me, being an industrial design engineer, like, okay, I'm wearing a watch, but I cannot read it when I'm driving or riding a motorcycle or riding a Vespa. So I thought, okay, maybe I was approaching graduation, and I have a project for my graduation, and I thought, okay, maybe I can maybe I can do something with this subject. Maybe I can create a watch that I can wear on my gloves and still read while driving. And that's how it started. And I turned it into a graduation project, and then the ball started rolling. Yeah.
So you in that desert, were you wearing gloves because either you were sweating and you needed grip, or you were burning alive in the sun?
No, it's
or the handles were metal and you were burning your hand?
No, it's because we already start to get
Blisters.
Yeah, blisters and stuff. So we really need the gloves for shifting and the clutching. Yeah.
So what did you do? Did you buy a long strap and strap it on your gloves during the trip, or did you just suffer, stop, and look what time it was?
And that's the last thing. Yeah, I just you do. And you with one glove, you're pushing back the other glove and watching them. So
what most people do during winter sports.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or wear it on your glove, Agnelli style. Yeah. Did you consider sticking it on the dashboard?
Yeah, I thought about it. I've also thought about making it modular, so you can either wear it on your wrist and have it as a modular thing on the dashboard. Might still something to think about in the future, but at the other end, in the end, for now, I really like the idea of having a watch that you can wear mostly in both situations. And that's also why the first watches, they had an easy to take off strap. So you could easily put on a NATO strap or something and put it on your glass if you want to. But I mean, in the end, also, I mean, realistically, a lot of people don't do it, and then people prefer to have a normal strap. So in the end, we went for the push spring straps. But yeah,
If you're intrigued by now while listening, the Rijke & Co is spelled DERIJKE and CO. That is the URL, DERIJKEANDCO.com. So that's his surname. Your USP, we could say, are driver's watches.
up till now, yeah,
Correct.
Yeah.
Up till now. So he just gave us a hint, boys and girls. I'll pry a bit later into that. So you came back from your Silk route. You had your graduation project in your mind. TU Delft, or what university did you go to?
Yeah,
TU Delft. Yeah. So that is, do I dare to say, the MIT of Holland?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's prestigious and it's the top-notch school. So you came back, and then what?
And then, so I approached the teacher at the university, and he said, "Yeah, if you want to do this," and he was actually himself. He was more into the branding aspect of product design, but he was really excited about it. So he was pushing me to do this, and he said, "Yeah, you should approach Bruno Nienaber, a Dutch designer who was also a teacher back at the time." And he said, "Yeah, he knows how to make a watch. So ask him, and maybe he can teach you and learn you how to actually build it. So you have a good starting point." So I approached Bruno, and Bruno was really happy to help me. And that led to me, I think, I'm actually postponing my graduation project or my graduation date so I could work on my watch, because Bruno really taught me how to use a lathe and a mill. And I could use Bruno's workplace, which is a really amazing workshop in Delft, fully equipped with mills and lathes and all the stuff you can think about. And I was able to use it as long as I was graduating, and I was still having the student loan. So I actually postponed it to 1.5 years, so I could really focus on developing a watch. And but then in the end, after 1.5 years or 2 years at Bruno, I realized I always felt the breath of Bruno in my neck, so to say. He's a very unique person with his strong vision, and I felt I had to really to get this moving. I had to develop my own path, so I decided to leave at Bruno. I graduated in the meantime, and then I started. But in order to develop my own path, my own watch, my own vision, I had to have my own workshop, because I mean, I developed a few watches. I made a watch for graduation, but I completely threw it away and started all over again with stuff I learned. And started over and developed the first Amalfi in the end. And then I developed in my own workshop, which I built after graduation.
So 2 things that we need to dissect. Why build yourself? Is that demanded for graduating?
No.
TU Delft?
No. The engineering was demanded. In the end, it was interesting, because in the end, I basically did 2 graduation projects. Most people do either development, so in the really the design part. But I was actually, in my master, I was more focusing on the strategic product design, and then you're focusing more on strategy and on for instance, brand development or marketing and all this kind of stuff. And I wanted to do it, or in the end, I ended up doing it both, because I had both teachers. I had Bruno, who was really hands-on, really practical, and I had the other teacher who was really on the branding side. And I worked them out both. But so to get to your question, making it yourself was not part of it. But it was one of the things I learned from Bruno, is that I mean, one of the big advantages, if you can do this stuff yourself, you can basically try stuff. I mean, I spend a lot of time still. There's not, I kind of hate the word trying, but you're still testing, like feeling the water if it works or not. And then you can grow like really gradually without taking a big risk. And that's what I've been doing ever since. And I mean, for me, it really works. And I think it's a healthy way to grow a business without, I mean, if you're so attached to something, you're really, at least is my problem, maybe my challenge, you're also worried about losing it. So you're protecting it so much that you're, and then, so you're afraid to take a big risk. So, and if you don't want to take a big risk, one of the things you can do is build it yourself and do a lot of the stuff yourself. So you don't have to have a big investment on, I don't know, like immediately have a case maker make your case, or someone else developing the case for you, and all that stuff. So,
Are you a control freak?
maybe a little bit, but I think maybe. But in past years, I've also learned maybe, and I've learned to let things go, and I've also learned that other people can do things better than me. I mean, also in making and in developing as well. And I'm good in, or like I have a starting level in a lot of fields, but for the real experts that can do stuff much better, I mean, then it's often better to let them do it. But it's also good to have a certain basic level of knowledge in many fields when you're starting watch brand. So, but I'm more and more learning to have things done by other people. Yeah.
It's almost a rhetorical question, but I have to ask it. You and I have a lot of overlapping passions for Vespas, personal sunglasses, vintage espresso machines. So the rhetorical question is, was it an option to use a quartz movement?
No, never. Even I mean, when I bought the Vostok, I knew nothing about mechanical watches, really nothing, except that they were mechanical, and so they didn't use a battery. But that was the main thing that attracted me to the watches, is the analogy for me with the Vespa, the old cars. I'm also very passionate about. You don't use electronics that get outdated. And so that was the main driver for me to do something with the watches, or one of the main drivers.
Did you think of reviving a vintage heritage brand?
No, never. It's not my style, I would say. I mean, I like to. I think I created my own vision on how I think. I mean, that's a continuous process. Your development of your vision and of how you approach your watch as well, and product design. But I really like the journey, to create the journey myself, and to shape, literally shape the watches myself. So that's one of the things I'm working now on, a new dress watch, which is maybe recognizable, but also completely different than what people will have seen. And that's what I really like. So I really want to craft, or to shape the future myself of my own brand. So that's what I'm most passionate about, actually. So that's why I would never revive an old brand, I think.
Have you become a watch nerd?
Yeah, quite a lot. And it's growing more and more every day. I mean, well, once you're in this rabbit hole, then I mean, I'm working with different people now as well. I've worked with a watchmaker from Paris. He now works for Sylvain Pinot. We still speak on a day-to-day basis, and I learn a lot from him now, and also in the beginning already. And then, I mean, you start to appreciate more the higher horology stuff. I mean, before you know it, you're developing your own movement. And, So you get drawn into it, and it just evolves like that. And that's also what I find difficult for the future of my brand. Like we're continuously evolving. So then but I also want, I want to build a product portfolio, but when your watches are still evolving, then no, it's different. It's hard, I think. But yeah.
What did you buy besides your own watches after the Vostok?
It's funny. I was never bought a watch for myself yet from another brand. No.
Emphasis on yet. What's high on your list? What attracts you?
Well, what attracts me? Some people find that curious, but I think it's for me it's logical. Of course, I really like what Resonance is doing. He's the same background as me, so I think that's what attracts me. And I like his complete new approach to seeing time. I also really like the JLC Reverse, because I think there's a same analogy in the story as to my watch. So yeah, something like that. But I can also really appreciate. I've really started to appreciate like the really old Rolexes, and what I really like about. I mostly like about that stuff, and that's also what I in the beginning really I wanted to try develop myself, is that in a time that Rolex, like in the 60s, for instance, that was state of the art stuff. I mean, there was nothing better if you were going to dive than you wanted to have a Rolex. So it's impossible to replicate that now, because watches have become in certain way irrelevant. It's only it's a piece of jewelry now. So but I really admire, and that's also coming from my background as industrial design engineer, because if you would have worked in the 60s as an industrial design engineer, Rolex would probably have been one of the companies you really wanted to work for, because they were the best at that time in a tool you could develop. So that's what I.
So I highlighted that you're basically making driver's watches. I stopped there for our listeners that might not know the brand or don't know what driver's watches are. You are not the first to make it. Maybe one of the most famous ones is the Vacheron Constantin 1921, I believe, where basically the watch is not symmetrical. We call it slanted, that it doesn't sit straight on your wrist. Now, I love things that are well made. Therefore, I love engineers because they want to make good stuff. I have Laurents' watch on my wrist. I'm holding the watch next to the mic. We'll be quiet and then just listen to this. I hope the mic picks it up. So you basically created a watch that is elegant. So doesn't shout, it whispers. It could have some Max Biel vibes. It could be in old Portuguese of IWC case-ish vibes. The lugs are new. Could be that you like Nomos Glashütte. I'm not saying you copied them or it doesn't look like anything. Now, is this the first in the world 12 years ago when you launched the Amalfi collection, where you have an inner case that rotates more than 90 degrees?
90.
It is 90. Yeah, so it's 90 degrees where I can turn the inner case.
Yeah. I will be honest. I think there is another one from Mont Blanc, and that was like 360 degrees. So the crown was higher than the lux, so the crown can move over the lux. It was with a special movement. It was a limited edition. It was very expensive, at least.
Probably with a Minerva caliber.
Yeah. But I think the most distinctive thing and the most interesting thing about my watch is indeed the integration And one of the things that I had to come up with and that I had to realize is that you can make the angle of 90 degrees. And that's also the only thing you need. You need only an angle of up to 90 degrees, and more of that is not necessary. But you can have the angle of 90 degrees between the lugs. And then you can make it, that's why it really looks like a normal watch. Because the Mont Blanc one, that is, it looks kind of silly in my eyes, because you have the crown that has to cross over the lugs. So you have this really high case with this lug sitting really low, and it looks kind of odd. So that was one of the things I had to come up with. In order to do that was one of the things that I had to realize back in the day, that if you're putting the crown at 45 degrees, or at not exactly 45, between two, it is 45. And now between 2 and 3, then you have to change the position of the feet of the dial, and that was one of the eye openers. I can actually change the position of the feet. I'm not stuck. I don't have to stick to a crown sitting at 3 o'clock. So and then things like naturally evolved from that. The looks. But it's also my minimalistic style. I really like to have everything as minimal as possible. But you also now have the lugs that cannot be any wider, because then the crown would touch the lugs. So it kind of flows from there, and the shape of the lugs, it's now curved, because in the first watches at the solid lugs, because I wanted to have a strap that could easily be replaced. So and that is what I really like also in product design. If the aesthetics have a meaning, so that's it's the well-known sentence, form follows function in the end. And that's also why I wanted to have the dial as big as possible, which is not easy, because we have now a dial that's separate from the minute indications, and the alignment of that is very critical in tolerance aspect, and it makes life much more difficult. So
You took the words out of my mouth. I wanted to say triple F, form follows function. Quick stress tests. What do you think of older Land Rover Defender cars?
I'll show you something later. I really like them. Yeah.
Another quick intermezzo question that I had in my mind: will you ever drive electric Vespa motorbikes or scooters?
I'm not against electrification. I mean, it's I think it's necessary. So I wouldn't say I would not ride them. Yeah, it's a good question. Like, I think for modern cars, vehicles, it's the way to go. It's unavoidable. But I think we shouldn't electrify old Vespas or old motorcycles and old cars. We should appreciate them for what they are. The impact of the cars that still ride is really minimal. But I mean, I'm completely not against innovation. I really like innovation, so I think it's in that way it's good. Yeah.
So the newest trend is you'll see vintage cars being electrified. Indeed, that do change the whole inner works. Taking that analogy to watches, do you think that's something totally different? So where you have mechanical engines in these vehicles or motorized vehicles, where we always make the analogy, the mechanical or automatic movements are the engines of watches. Mm-hmm. Do you see that parallel, or do you think it's a total different world?
I completely see the parallel, and in my opinion, and I would not be surprised if the like a certain segment of the cars, the more the luxury cars like Ferrari and Lamborghini, that will be something that is completely relatable to the watches, in that sense that I would not be surprised that building a petrol engine will be the new, or a new form of building as we were building a watch movement. So I mean, all the brands, they now have to comply with regulations for emissions and this stuff. But building a petrol engine is still you can consider it as a craft, as it is as building a watch movement. So I would not be surprised that in the future, I mean, if all the emissions are taken care of, then that building petrol engine is similar to building a watch movement, and we will appreciate it, and there will be a big market for it. So that's why I would be hesitant if, I mean, I hope, or let's say, I hope that brands like Ferrari don't completely embrace the electrification, but still continue building the petrol engines.
So the engines today you use are, I believe, Salita 300s.
Yeah.
Going back in time. So you pushed your graduation year and a half. You ventured out on your own. You started from scratch. You want to do as much as possible in-house. Form follows function. You made the design. What caliber did you choose? And then what? What did you do? Did you start selling?
In the beginning, yeah, I started. So I used in the very beginning, I actually started using the Soprot movement, the first 10 or 20 watches. But it was, back then, it was hard, especially the Soprot movements. It was quite a high minimum order quantity, and I didn't have the funds to pay for it. So that's why I shifted to Salita. And then I used the Salita SW300 movement. And I still use it for the time-only watches. And Salita also has a SW288 movement, which is a movement with the big moon phase indication. And we use that for the Miffy, for the moon phase watches. But the moon phase, we make it a bit bigger. We change the movement a little bit. We take out the date ring. We make our own moon phase disc and make it even bigger than it already is.
Very interesting, and we'll touch upon that. But getting to the moon phase models, walk me through. You didn't have the funds. So you first going to do a soap.
No.
How did you start selling? Family or friends? How did you do fundraising?
Well, one of the things. So because I had developed the watch in such a way that I didn't needed a big loan to start selling them. There were a few things I had to outsource, of course. There was the sapphire crystal, for instance, movements, of course. I think one part of the case that I couldn't make myself, but in the beginning, it's also part of it is begging suppliers to do 10 pieces or just searching long enough for a supplier that's willing to do 10 pieces per time. And so in the beginning, the first watch cases, I did a lot of the work myself, or a lot of the milling as well. But the inner case was made by Yuki in Japan, and in the beginning they allowed to do 10 pieces per order, which, I mean, that's nothing. They were kind enough really to do that. That was one of the things I was able to start. Apart from that, I took a small loan from a financer here in the Netherlands, and that allowed me to pay to invest in the crystals and some movements. And then, I mean, selling, friends and family, friends, fools and families, they say. And apart from that, I mean, the story was nice, I think. So the story also sold itself in the beginning. It was really picked up very well in the media. So I had quite a lot of attention in the first year. But after the first year or something, it was really hard to keep the momentum going. So I had to actually put the watch business on the side and start working as an engineer. But I mean, it's just, you have to realize that I came from a student background. I didn't, after my graduation, I didn't work for a for a normal boss. I did freelance work, but I did actually restoration of classic cars. So I was more like a mechanic, but it allowed me to work only 3 days a week, and then I had 2 or 3 days to work on the watches, and that I did for a few years. Really surviving and trying to make it work, and developing the product as well, making iterations. And that's taken a lot of time and quite some years that I was living like that. I rented a house from like social renting, and I had a really small shed, or you call it like a storage room, and I was able to, which was the dubious methods and dubious ways, but I was able to put a lathe in there and a mill, and I only once a plug socket there, but it worked, at least for them, and that allowed me to have kind of my workshop in my house, and that's how it started. Yeah.
Today you're full-time, that I can call?
Yeah, for 3 years already. Yeah.
So from the 12 years, it took you 9 years to live off this company.
Yeah.
When in that 12-year course did you see the light, in the sense that you said, this is it, and I'm going for this and nothing else?
I thought I'd seen the light a few times, but when I took the loan, it forced me also to go full time. So I did it full time for half a year, or now a year, and it allowed me to launch. But I mean, then it just didn't work. It was not enough. So it forced me to start working full time, just to have to like step one, put one step back, so, and again a bit more of engineering experience as well. In hindsight, the 2 years that I had to start working full time, it was 2.5 years something. I learned so much, and I gained so many valuable lessons in those 2.5 years, that I think it has been crucial for these 12 years. And the stuff I learned I worked at Cooker, the boiling water tap company. The stuff I learned there has been crucial for where I am now. So, yeah.
Do you design freelance for others today?
No, I find it quite difficult, I think. I mean, for Cooker, it was more engineering than so to say design. But I don't do it.
Could we say your lucky break, or the big break, was the Miffy watch?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, when that got picked up, I mean, I built the first 25 watches when I was still working at Cooker. So I was doing every night. I went to my workshop, making and working every weekend to complete this first 25 watches. But after that, I noticed there was so much demand for this, and I was approached by Waco from Revolution to do a collaboration, and that was the moment that I thought, okay, now I can go full time. I should take it. I should take the wave to do it. Yeah.
So Miffy in Dutch is Nijntje. Nijntje comes from konijntje, which is rabbit. It's basically the Dutch equivalent of Hello Kitty.
Yeah, you could say that.
How did you come up with the idea?
It was, I would say it was mostly more like a brainwave, or like the direct, I'd say it's direct thing that led to this was that I saw a friend of mine, an art director, who had a pillow filled with Miffy
Images, characters?
Yeah, characters are like child toys, anyhow, and
Dolls, basically.
yeah,
Miffy dolls.
Yeah, on a pillow, and this was a really serious guy, and I think he's quite a valued art director. So, and then I thought, oh, this is actually quite brilliant, and it's super nice. And then I think it hit me like, okay, what if I make a watch with Miffy? I mean, of course, I've by that time, like 3 years ago, I'd already been in the watch world for 10 years or something. So I'd learned about character watches. I'd seen other brands. I mean, working with Mickey Mouse or Snoopy. So I was aware of that. But when I saw the Miffy, it made a connection for me. Like, okay, this is something I could do, and I really liked it from the beginning straight away. People really thought I was crazy. People really thought I was crazy because it was so different from what I was doing. Because I was really in this vintage driving style and the brand with the visualizations as well. We were really in the this gentleman driver theme, and then suddenly I was doing something with the child's character. People really didn't understand it.
Was it locally or international?
What do you mean? The
People that thought you were crazy with Dutch people?
both.
Both.
Yeah, both. But mainly, mainly Dutch people, because in the Netherlands we mostly know her as a child thing, but internationally she's also really recognized as a art figure. So more, and it's not only in the Netherlands. I mean, I have a newborn, and I mean every child is raised with Miffy books, but it's so much more than that, and that's sometimes hard to understand.
Well, yeah, it's a Holland also a style icon. It's a design icon.
Yeah.
It was the, but no, the design, and then the creator was
Bruna, Dick Bruna.
I think Bruna, he created the design language.
Yep. And the cartoons, that's what I really, I mean, when I started with Miffy, and I also started investigating into Miffy, and then you realize, Dick Bruna was actually influenced by the style by Bauhaus. He uses the same colors. He was inspired by Mondrian, and he has the same minimalistic language in Miffy. And what I also really liked is that Miffy is not like, Miffy doesn't used to be like she is now. I mean, it has been an evolution. The first Miffy was completely different. She evolved over time, and that's something like what I really appreciate in design and in art. If something evolves like that, so this was also an eye opener. And I don't know, the other connection was there. It was really quintessentially Dutch. It was art, a piece of art, influence from Bauhaus, the style, which I really like, and you see a bit of my design language. So yeah, I think the connection was great. Yeah.
So while we're recording this, you are selling a white ceramic version of the Miffy watch, which you called the last edition.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, the honest answer is that they allowed me to do a few editions, and this is the last one they allowed me to do it. Yeah, and then they is the owners from Miffy.
So that's a foundation today.
Yeah.
So unlike Disney or Marvel or DC Comics that plaster it on cheap clothing to expensive watches like Audemars Piguet watches, Miffy doesn't operate like that.
They really have to grant it you, like the
license.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, I want this license. I approach them, okay, I'm buying your license, and I'll make watches with Miffy. No, they say, what are you going to do? What do you want to do? You have to make the proposal, and then they're saying, okay, yeah, we like it. No, we don't like it. We're not interested in this. And I think it's still actually, it might still be family owned. It's like it's an official company still. So, and but they are not. I mean, the demand for Miffy is so big. For some people, it's new. But the demand is so big that, I mean, their job is just to say yes and no. So I mean, there's so many people who want to work with them that they're just really picky. That's also, they really still want to create a brand around Miffy. So, and they have a vision what fits the brand and what not, and that's why they're also like really picky.
Which I assume you're happy with as another brand that works with them.
Yeah, very happy. It's really unlikely that they will do something else with the watch brand. Yeah, like this.
Would you call yourself a Dutch brand?
Yep.
Although, how much is produced in Holland?
if we would follow the Swiss made standards, it would be Dutch made.
So the Swiss standard is 60% of the value
Yeah.
of the production and then X percentage of the components,
Yeah.
spare parts. So by that standard, you reach
Most definitely.
Dutch made.
Yeah.
Whereas we don't have a standard, do we know it?
No.
That's weird though, because TU Delft should actually formalize that.
Yeah. Yeah. We would have to come up with a good phrase.
Yeah.
Always difficult. Made in Holland is too long. Dutch made is it's so. Yeah.
You as a designer, is Dutch design a thing?
Yeah, I think so. But maybe you could take it a bit broader, like Northern European design. It's maybe too broad, but I mean the style, the style, or also the art movement. Yeah, and Bauhaus, they're all very similar and influenced by each other. And then we have the Scandinavian design, which also has these influences. So I definitely think there's a history there, and I think it's, but it's now, I'm not sure how it is these days. I mean, it's, the world has become such a village. Yeah, village indeed. So
is the Rijke & Co. Dutch design?
I like to think so, and but I always think it's Dutch design, but with a little bit of bit of romance
and pragmatism.
Yeah, but it like in essence it's Dutch design, and because I don't like to do stuff that's like exorbitant, or like I really like to follow the form polish function, and that things have to be there and so that they have to function. Yeah, so I really follow that.
Is there another Dutch watch brand that does Dutch design?
Not in that sense. I would say that maybe Pelikaan from Utrecht is maybe the thing that's the brand that is the closest to that. I mean, there are quite a lot of Dutch brands nowadays, but they all have their own style. And I wouldn't say, I mean, Michiel is doing something really nice, but I wouldn't say he's following he's more his own style, not really the Dutch style.
It's Holtener style.
Yeah.
He's in the stratosphere.
Sure.
Yeah. Interesting. I have so many questions and I'm looking at the clock and we're running out and I don't have a list. We usually don't prepare these interviews. And what I need to touch upon really quickly for our dear listeners, I need to always do this as if I'm a listener and I have so much to ask you. You said 60% at least you do in Holland. So what do you guys do in Holland?
One of the obvious things is to do assembly. I know that we do engineering. That's also counted in Switzerland as a part of Made in Switzerland. And it's a very important part. So, but for instance, for the Miffy moon phase, we also make the complete moon phase disc ourselves. For the moon phase disc, for instance, it has to be turned. It's made here. It's first CNC turned. Then it comes to our workshop. I don't have a CNC lathe yet. We do a final operation on the conventional lathe by hand for fitting of the gear on the back. We have a fiber laser to etch away all the material to make the moon phase disc really 3D. Then we do finishing of the moon phase disc. Then it's plated. For the black plating, that's done in the Netherlands, but the blue plating, it's done in Switzerland. Then it comes back to the workshop. We do quality control. Then it goes back to Switzerland for the application of Superluminova. Then it comes back to our shop. We apply the gear on the back, and then the final assembly. For the steel cases, at the moment, we still do all the finishing ourselves, the polishing of the case, the finishing of the case backs, engraving of the case backs. So it's a bit of, for enamel dials, we do a lot still ourselves. Most of it's always difficult to to say it in percentages, but a lot of the work of the enamel dial is done in the workshop. Not a lot of the work is necessary for the preparation before the enameling. Enameling is done by a specialist in the UK, but all of the base of the dial is made in our workshop. Pet printing is done in the workshop.
You're based in Dordrecht, south of Holland.
Yeah.
The province South Holland. So we call that 010. In Amsterdam, we're 020. We have always this frenemy relationship.
Yep.
You speak about we. How big is the team?
I like to speak about we. I feel I'm doing short people who are so active in supporting me. But I mean, in essence, I'm still alone. I'm responsible for marketing, for development, for sales. But as I said before, I work with a watchmaker still as a freelancer. He worked from Paris, but also from Morteau. I work with a good friend of mine who's helping me with engineering, also as a freelancer. Now working also doing quite a lot of animation, so more the marketing stuff. Also working with a freelancer here, for instance. So I try to find the right people to like create a good professional working environment around me. But at the moment, it's all freelance. But it gives me also flexibility. So
can you assemble a watch gallery?
Yeah.
So you're autodidactic?
Yeah. But I'm still learning. Yeah.
I think, and I'm putting words maybe in your mouth, that it's kind of a blessing that you can't make more Miffy watches. Because you always had the stigma of being that Miffy guy, the Miffy brand. Is that correct?
Yeah, most certainly. And I mean, if we were not if we would not have the fear of losing the license, which we had for the past 3 years, and I mean, if we lose the license, it's finished, and that's it's finished now almost. But if we would not have had that fear, then we would have done it a little differently. But now, there was so much demand for it. We just had to do it. So,
and there's nothing wrong with that. And I want to salute you. If those that are listening right now did miss the episode we recorded in Geneva a few months ago, where you launched a Time to Watches, the land, air, and sea collection that you've designed together with Guy Allen.
Yep.
While looking at your website, I only see one of them left. So you had 3 beautiful enamel dials.
Yep.
In 3 different color tones. Does that mean they're almost sold out?
The other 2 are sold out.
They are sold out.
Yeah.
So you sold them out in less than 2 months?
No, we already launched them last year.
Okay.
But Geneva was the second event that they were put out like live. People could touch them and see them in real life. But we're taking a bit longer to.
Because we conclude you are suffering from success. You're very significant products. Because what I miss is the initial model, the core,
Yeah,
the Rijke,
yeah,
Premiere model,
yeah.
the Spiel version with the plain.
I'm in that sense also a perfectionist, and we will be relaunching it, but I want to change a few things, and but it takes some time.
So maybe to round up this interview, and maybe focus on the entrepreneurship side of things. What bottlenecks do you encounter 12 years down the line? Because I could conclude that one of them is success. That is a bottleneck.
Yeah.
Could we say that?
Yeah, well, definitely. Yeah. I mean, the years of Revolution was, in hindsight, was maybe a bit too much. It was real.
So you've done 2 collabs with Revolution magazine? A blue and a pink,
yeah.
Baby blue, or a different color blue and a pink.
No, it was just normal blue, but more blue and
a pink one. Yeah. So those, you say the success was too grand?
Yeah, because I learned so much. Also in the past 3 years doing this full time, you learn so much from, suppliers, and from working with different suppliers, and which supplier does what better, and this whole process. For the first Revolution dials, the blue ones, I painted all the dials myself in the workshop. It was it was such a horrible job. Uh, I, I don't know, it's stuff like that I would do now completely different. We glued in all the sapphire inserts in these dials. We glued them in ourselves with translucent UV blue. I don't know. These are stuff like in hindsight, I think, okay, that was crazy, and now I would do it so much different. Sorry, I forgot the question.
Well, the bottlenecks you encounter as an entrepreneur. Do you suffer from a writer's block? Thinking
No.
of the next chapter?
No, last year, because I knew, and I mean, it's also very good that this is the last Miffy series, because it's forcing me to come up with something new.
Yeah.
And that's why we came up with Guy Allen, which was also very successful. So, which I'm really happy about that. And but apart from that, I knew last year, okay, I have to. We now what's next? Like, what we're going to do now? And it forced me for, I think, 3 months to only focus on designing, and it's kind of like a pressure cooker. We developed something, I think, super nice that will be launched hopefully still this year. But to get back to your question, the bottlenecks, I mean, you have to do 1,000 things at once, and you can only focus at one thing, and that's a bottleneck. Keeping the sales on track while still developing and really trying to do different things. I mean, also for the watch we are now working on, I mean, we're doing things differently. We're creating a completely new sapphire crystal, and then you have to find the right suppliers. You have to order samples, see how they get. The first samples didn't work, and then this whole process itself is so time consuming, and then the business still has to go. Yeah, it's
How many watches have you produced up until today?
around 600.
So while looking at Chrono 24 right now, there are only 6 for sale.
Yeah.
So that's 1%.
Yeah.
If I want the basic version, I can't even get it. Are you bringing it back? Are you going to work with a core collection? Because today I only
It's one of the goals.
Yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah.
So where is the Rijke go in 5 years from now? What are you dreaming?
I hope that by then we will have more of the collection, like a base collection with stock models we can sell. I hope we have a few selected retailers. So I'm a bit hesitant about that, but yeah, I think we need it in the future. And but I want to keep the focus on developing, on creating new stuff, on engineering, and we are now taking our first steps in movement development as well. So who knows what happens in 5 years?
Why? Because you like it or because you need it?
No, because I think one of the most important things for me to stand out, and one of the things that are my that I'm good at, is developing and creating new stuff. And then why movement? Because I see so many brands these days launching a really nice watch that I'm thinking like, okay, how can I do better than that? I mean, a nice watch is one thing, but where can we focus on? I'm not good at marketing. I suck at marketing, but I really like to create, and I really like to focus on that. And I also really like to do engineering and to focus on engineering. So I think if we focus on that, we can be really distinctive, and we can really create value and make a really nice product. So that's why I really want to focus more on that. Yeah.
Will you make watches that are not drivers' watches with swivel case?
Yeah, because it's one of the things I realized, I think already a few years back. In the beginning, I really wanted to focus on only the driving theme, but I thought it was in my eyes, I already created like the perfect driving watch. We could do another theme on that, but I realized that I prefer to build a brand that's broader than that, and not limit myself to do only that area. To stay in the analogy of Jaeger le Coultre or Charger le Coultre, is that, well, you have the Reverso, which is a very important piece of the collection, but I think there could also be room to develop a dress watch and do it in my own style and really different than what exists today, for instance.
I can't wait to see all these developments. Laurents, thank you so much for coming into the studio and sharing your journey.
Thanks for having me.
It was amazing. We wish you the best of luck. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode. You can find all our previous episodes on our official website, www.therealtime.show. And you can find us on Instagram via the handle @therealtime.show. If you like what we do, please support us by subscribing, liking, rating this show, and sharing it with your friends. If you have any questions, feedback, and/or criticism, please do send us a message. You can also DM us if you want to join the TRTS community. We have an awesome community on WhatsApp where Laurents is actually a member of. So if you want to chat directly with him, we encourage you to join the community. Do you like the community, Laurents?
Yes, definitely.
You actually learn stuff on there?
Oh yeah, I learn a lot. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
So you can reach Rob via his email, rob@therealtime.show, or on his IG via @ROBNUDDS. And you can message me via alon@therealtime.show, and find me on the gram via ALONBNJOSEPH. You can find our co-hosts as well on our website, therealtime.show. Stay sane and keep on ticking.